see here. Let's sit here and first time live streaming in a while, so I gotta check and make sure that it's all working. Let's test my voice. All right. Think it's good. We're gonna get started. All right. So as you can see, I am working on a comic page for a person that is writing the story. I'm just doing the artwork. So, what I'm gonna do is kind of break down how it's set up right now. So you can see I got multiple layers, and what this is allows me to break things down easier. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and turn off all these other layers. All right, so you can see I've got the foreground picture here, just a normal building that gives me control over that. So that way, if I want to add any haze or something as we go to the next, background on here, then that's how that works. um, and then what I'm gonna do is show you the next layer. So I've got this giant building right here, which is the main focus for the kind of villain, I guess you would be. He works at this executive enterprises, and then I got these back lines back here for the buildings that are more further off in the distance. And then I have a giant moon that we will fade out and add some color to just kind of, get it shiny, I guess you'd say. So we're just going to go ahead and get started. Now, as always in my live streams, if anybody wants to ask any questions about what I'm working on or how I'm doing it, all you have to do is just comment and let me know, and I will answer any questions that you have. So let's get started. So I'm going to take this first layer here. What I've done is just called it big lines just because it's the one in the front. Basically what I did was I just took a magic wand tool on that layer, and you can see how it selects around it, but all of this stuff is selected the outside and the negative space. I don't want that. I want to be able to color inside. So I would just select inverse, and then I created a new layer below it, just call it color, and I hit this little button at the bottom. It's just called a mask button, and it creates that mask. So that way, if I come in here, let's say I want to color this a tan color or whatever, it'll keep everything inside of that. Okay, so you can see how that's coloring that in and not going outside the line. So that's why it's important to kind of group this stuff off and mask it. So we're gonna start with that kind of a light tan color for the building, and then I'm just gonna color it in. Usually for these buildings that are more up close, I like to put the color on there just so that I have the option of the way the light hits it, we can kind of see what color that building is. And then at any point, I can obviously change the color up to what I want. Now this is a nighttime scene, so I'm going to be adding some like blue or purplish hues to it uh, to give it more of a sense of nighttime as opposed to day. But I like to get these like color flats in there first, and then when I get done, I'll add like layers on top and stuff like that in order to, help sell that it's a nighttime thing. So the reason why I'm streaming this live is I want to kind of give people an idea of how long it can take to do something on a comic page. Now, granted, I'm not like a 20-year veteran of drawing and coloring comic books. Like just drawing the whole scene together took quite some time, like more than half a day yesterday. Um, and there are others who have like more experience where they can shortcut and get things done a lot faster. I just kind of work at the speed that I do, um, and try my best to get it done. Now my computer's going to be running this a little slower, so there might be some delays and hiccups in there. But what I'm doing is the reason why I'm cleaning out these windows right now is we're going to add a different color to them. We wanted to make it look like the lights are on, so we have to erase that stuff out of there, and that just allows for there not to be any like artifacting or overlay that'll cause an issue later down the line. And the other nice part too is, some people like to go like each individual object gets a different, uh, layer to it. And again, I'm trying to keep this running smooth, but I don't know that my old computer can handle all that. But we're gonna try our best. So it might slow the process down a little bit. Yeah, that's going real slow. Oh no, it's messing up my picture. And it's just not able to keep up. Again, I'm gonna try my best to go live with this, but like I said, it's been a while. I definitely need a new computer. This is running real slow right now. Let's see, maybe I can close out of some stuff. Maybe that'll help out a little bit. At least I'm hoping. Alright, so we're just going to continue coloring. I'll fill back in those areas that got erased out. Like I said, it takes time. Obviously, it runs a lot. It goes a lot faster if I'm not streaming. But like I said, I'll figure it out eventually. See what's going on. So the computer I'm using is probably well over 10 years old. Probably more like 12 or 13. Um, I'm cheap that way. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But at some point we'll get a new one and see if we can work that out. Alright, so now that that's all filled in, clean up a few more areas. Let's zoom back out. Okay, now I could typically use that same color um, or whatever, um, but I like to put a little bit of variety in there. So I'm just going to kind of switch to this like kind of blue color setting. I'm going to kind of go for a blue-gray color and see what that looks like. Yeah, so we'll go with that. And we'll do the same thing. We'll just avoid the windows. So pretty much when I do the windows, if it's a window that doesn't have a light on, I usually tend to just color it black and just leave it that color. I'll fill all that in. Now some people might ask like, well, why don't you just use your magic wand to, select all the windows, and then that way it doesn't, color inside those windows. The main reason is, even when I turn the anti-aliasing on, when it selects that stuff, it's really not 100%. So still, it'll leave like this kind of like white outline in the window that I don't want, or even around the edge of it. And then I have to go back in and just end up tracing over those areas anyway. So it doesn't really make that big of a difference as far as saving time, because I would still have to go over it in doing that. So again, I do apologize for the speed of this. I don't think my computer can really handle this. That's why typically I usually just make videos, but just kind of wanted to show people the process of just like how long this actually can take. And again, like I said at the start, I am not a industry expert. I just do with what I've learned along the way. And if you are a comic artist and you have tips for speeding up the coloring process, I am not above taking suggestions. Oh, well, I really appreciate that. I am cool. To be fair, though, it has been uh, probably 6 months since I streamed because I was working on two comics at one time. So, uh, but I do appreciate that. And like I said, if anybody has any questions about how to do certain things, and I don't know if you just popped up, but I'll show you the full scene of what we're doing here. It's a full city shot with a moon in the background here. So we're just kind of working on it one layer at a time. And this building here in the center is like the main villain's like company that he works for. Now I did not write this story, so I cannot divulge too much, you know, in the way of what the story is about because it's not out yet. So I can't answer any questions like that, but I can at least show my process. So I won't be able to show like all the pages that I work on because I gotta leave something to the imagination for people when it comes out. Um, but this is just the first issue. Like I said, I was working on two comics at the same time, and it was really driving me crazy. But again, I appreciate that. I'm cool. So again, we're going to try to fill this in. And again, if you're watching, I do apologize. My computer is very, very old, and it's trying to handle streaming from OBS while I'm doing this. Right. So again, I'm just kind of filling things in, and I'll clean up around the windows again when I'm done. And the other reason I wanted to stream this is, as an artist, I'm always looking for ways to improve myself. I am not what I would consider the greatest um, comic artist in the world. I think I do really good with, you know, the drawing aspect of it. I could use a little work on some of the inking, but coloring has just always been things that I just really beat myself up on. I just I want it to be perfect, and as an artist, you usually tend to over critique your own stuff, and so I'm always looking for ways to find other methods for doing things, but I can never find any comic book colorists where I draw and color and put the words in and all that stuff by myself. It's I think I found one guy who does it, but sometimes his style does not match what it is I'm going for, and sometimes it's not explained as to why they're using what they're using, what they're using. No, I appreciate that. I am cool. I appreciate that. Buildings are easy once you get used to them. It's all just about shapes and form. The problem for me that just renders my brain just dumb when I'm done is the windows, man. Like even if I like so for these windows here, like I would draw a row and then I would just copy that layer and drag it down. But even that takes time. The windows on buildings the most is what bugs the heck out of me. Um, it just takes so much time, and then you have to go and like with this scene in particular, I'm gonna have to put some reflections from like the night sky and things like that on it, and it's uh, very tedious. But the end result looks cool when you're done. So again, I'm just going in and I'm just cleaning up around these windows. And once we get that done, we'll color the last building in the foreground. And then we'll start working on the buildings in the middle ground. And again, if you just showed up, the reason why I have it split up into multiple layers is it gives me more control over what's going on. And especially when you want to talk about uh, things like distance, So like with this next group of buildings, if you ever look at like images online for references for a city at nighttime, you'll see this kind of like light haze that comes from the bottom. And what that allowed me to do is if I put that in between these two, I can get that haze without touching the building over here. So that's why I split it up into layers. And, most artists I think do that the same too. Um, Now I'm a little bit uh, different. I don't draw on paper first. Now for my own personal graphic novel that I'm working on, I will. Um, but it saves me time having to draw on the paper, then transfer the paper into here, and then ink over the top of the sketch, and I can just do it all right from here. And the other cool part too is there's a lot of tools for like buildings in general. There's ways that you can make sure you draw a perfectly straight line by holding a shift key down, or using a ruler to help you here digitally as opposed to trying to get it right on paper with a ruler. I just find that to be a lot easier just to do digitally. And I know a lot of comic purists, they like on paper because, it gives them something to collect. They want official pages and stuff like that. But like I said, I'll be doing that for my own personal graphic novel, but that one's going to take a long time to do because that's probably going to be about 500 pages. Now, my stream is a little delayed. I can see by looking at it, I'm actually a little ahead of what's showing up on the screen. And again, that's just, I'm new to live streaming. I've only done it like maybe twice, maybe three times. But for some reason, OBS won't show me the live chat unless I'm clicked on OBS, and I can't do that. um, Maybe if I can dock it on here. There we go. That works better. All right, so now I can see if y'all put anything in the chat a lot better. Let me see. I won't let me adjust though. Right, there it is. Gotta make it a tiny bit bigger. Yeah, I can't figure it out, but I'll just watch the chat on YouTube. I said, if I was a little bit more versed in it, I'd be able to figure it out. So again, I'm just going to clean up around these windows real quick, and then again, that'll allow us to add some color into the windows for all of these ones that are lit up. Again, I know the one thing I always hated when I was trying to learn some extra tricks and stuff is the time lapse videos, which I do just for people to have something to look at, which is fun. But when I use make my tutorial videos or do something like this, I do it step by step because I want to see the full process. Like right now, with the brush I'm using, it's nothing fancy. It's just the basic hard round brush that comes with this program. And the cool part with Photoshop is a lot of the brushes in there are actually pretty standard across the board for more programs like Sketchbook or what you call it, Procreate, stuff like that. So a lot of the brushes I use are pretty standard. There's a couple custom brushes that I've made. But for this image here, I won't be using anything crazy that you can't find in one of your programs. Okay. So I see a couple spots. Make sure that's all clean. All right, and then for this building down here, I want to get kind of like a red brick color almost. So I'm just kind of coming in here. You'll kind of learn the colors of how to do it. Just what I do is like I said, I just look up pictures of buildings and see what the most typical like major cities like this take place in Houston. So for like these two buildings here, I completely made these up, and then for the background, these are all just made up buildings. But I still want to get that essence of actual Houston, Texas. So I added actual buildings that exist in downtown Houston. So it'll help sell the feel of anybody who's from Houston or looks at picture. Kind of think of it like, Gotham and Batman. It just helps sell the city when you have like some noticeable looking ones. So, like there's, Wayne Tower and stuff kind of looks like the Chrysler Building in New York, things like that, like things that the reader will find recognizable and stuff to help it kind of sell to something you can relate to. And personally, that's why I've been a little bit more partial to Marvel because they kind of base their comics in our real world as far as cities and stuff go. So you tend to run into a lot more familiarity with that. Um, I am cool. I can give you a basic understanding of what the comic is about, but I'm not allowed to reveal too much of the story. But basically, it's called The Lunar Soldier. And the best way that I can describe it is kind of imagine um, Daredevil meets be like a mix of like kind of the characters because he has no superpower, so he'd kind of be like Daredevil, Nightwing type character as far as like street level goes, and he's just kind of discovering this legacy of that he comes from a long legacy of the person who takes up the title of the Lunar Soldier, and there's some stuff going down in the city that leads to him eventually discovering that legacy of like, oh crap, I am, the great great grandson of, or all this other stuff of a long line of superheroes. And the only other thing I can really tell you is his ability skill wise is he is a MMA fighter. Oh, no, my computer's skipping, so I'm erasing stuff I don't need to. Um, so that's where he gets his ability, and his weapon is just your basic like Kali sticks. Rose Ninja is cool. Hi, back to you. Um, so yeah, that's really unfortunately all I can tell you. Just because I am not the sole creator, I am just the artist, um, and I have to kind of respect the author's wishes, not reveal too much. I will say this: he's just kind of giving it a test run because he's just kind of starting to create this universe. So he will probably only be doing about 6 issues of it. Um, I'm gonna try to see if maybe he just wants to do a graphic novel of it and just make it one big book. But at the end of the day, it is up to him and his publisher what he wants to do. I was very nervous when I got asked if I wanted to work on it um, because the other comics I worked on, the person suggested me to them. And like I said, as an artist, I am hypercritical of myself and my art. I think my art is okay, but I think that comes in the territory of just being an artist in general. Um, so I'm nervous as to what people are going to think of the comic itself. Um, so hopefully it does well. I mean, if not, it's an experience for me anyway. Rose Ninja is cool. How was my day? It's the same thing every day, but it's good. Just drawing comics Monday through Friday. I try to take a break on the weekend, but yeah, it's been good. Like I was telling I am cool earlier. Uh, this is the part that I hate is drawing buildings because you can see the amount of windows and they take forever. So that can be a little mind racking. Um, but other than that, it's good. Like I said, just going through the process of trying to get this done today, this page at least. But and I may not finish as far as the live stream goes. I may only stream for a short time, just because you can see how streaming it is really slowing my computer down. Um, and I have to figure out a way to fix that. And again, it may just be the age of the computer, just because it still works fine when I'm not streaming. So I don't see a reason why need to buy a new one. um, but yeah, I may have to cut the stream just so I can manage to get the page done today. But we'll go for a few hours for sure, just to make sure that we get some stuff. You want to ask what my favorite snack is? I don't know. We talking like snacks like chips? Or are we talking like favorite candy? Because I mean, it's pretty varied. I say if we talk about snacks, I will never turn down a Reese peanut butter cup or a Butterfinger. But as far as other snacks, I like things like popcorn and roasted peanuts and things like that. Just what I would consider snacking food, something you can just grab. Sometimes I'll sit there and eat peppers and things too, but for the most part, that's about it. So yeah, now I'm gonna go in and clean up these windows again. And so the hardest part is just getting the color choice down because when I choose these colors, 9 times out of 10, especially in a night scene, I end up just bleeding it over with another color. But it does help me kind of separate a little bit what what building is what, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. Um, so like for this, I'm gonna go for like, because I want that building to stand out, so I'm gonna go for like a lighter gray for this building so that it, again, it stands out from the rest. Uh, I'm sure no one will think pictures are bad. If anything, you're probably going to get compliments. Well, I appreciate that. I am cool. I really do. And I hope so too. Like I said, just being an artist, it's hard because you're very critical of your own work and you want it to be successful. And sometimes you think it's just garbage or you could have done better. But I appreciate you saying that. Chips are a good one. My favorite snack is Oreos. Oh, you like Oreos? Yeah, I like Oreos too. I just don't get them as often, but I don't know about you, but I gotta have milk with my Oreos. It's just a thing. I don't really like eating them without it. It's just like you have one, you have to have the other. Now, the interesting part with this, and like I said, we're going to try to get to it today, but like, see how I have like these huge rows of windows where it's just a huge building. So, like, even if I put this back one up, like this building over here, that's an actual building in Houston, it's all just glass windows. So, like, this will be highly reflective. So, I'll put just one base color in there of like a window color. Yeah. Two cool people. I know this question wasn't for me, but your favorite is Twix. Yes, Twix is a good one too. Look, there's not a lot of candy bars that I'm gonna turn down. I'm telling you that right now. But that's just me. But yes, I always like it when people show up and want to just chat. Um, especially if they have questions about the process too. If anyone's interested in that. And other than that, I don't have a problem just chatting about anything as long as we keep it somewhat appropriate. All right, so we're just gonna fill in this whole building the same color because again, I'll probably just end up drowning it out with a cool blue or purple to kind of help. Yes, you are cool, Rose. Like I said, I would definitely stream more often if my computer did not drag so much. But gotta kind of work with what you got. Like I said, hopefully one day I'll make enough to where I can buy me a pretty decent computer what can handle all the streaming and stuff. Do I have pets? Yes, I have two pets. I have a husky and a French bulldog. They are getting up there in age, but we have two dogs and that's it. We don't have any other pets than that. All right, so as you can see, I'm just trying to avoid these windows as much as possible to save me some cleanup because with these bigger buildings, it's a lot more windows and that's a lot more cleanup. But again, process just takes time. It's like I said, I could easily just color fill the whole thing, but then that's even more cleanup that I don't want to do. So I try to save me some time, and once you get the base colors in there, the rest of it, it honestly doesn't take that long. So I would say like a page like this to draw, color, put the highlights in, stuff like that. Usually takes me about a full day to maybe a day and a half. More simplistic scenes where it's just people in a hallway or something. I can usually finish all of that up in a day. Like I said, it's just been interesting because when Marvel and stuff makes their comics, they have a team of guys working on it. You got one guy who draws it, then you got another person who colors. Um, Sometimes I think nowadays most artists do the inking themselves, but it used to be you had a separate guy for the inking, and another guy who did the words and the word bubbles. And I am doing all of that by myself. So it takes a lot longer. I would say if I only had to draw the pictures, I would probably be done a lot faster with my work. You have a German Shepherd puppy. Let's say she is a little chaotic, but I can't blame the thing. It's just a puppy. That's true. Can't blame the puppy. Just got to stay on top of the training. Make sure there's no accidents on the floor. That's the big thing. You don't want to come home to puppy accidents. Uh, but yeah, I'm a big dog person. I like dogs more than anything else. I've had a cat or two, but they always tend to somehow escape and run away. And then, as far as any other pets go, fish and things like that, they don't tend to last that long. So I just kind of stopped getting into that. Although back in the day, I did have a ferret. You just take your school computer home and make One Piece fan art on it, and I think it was part of the reason why they banned taking them home. So I have a little experience drawing on old PCs. Yeah, um, my kids do that too. They like drawing on their computers, but there were a lot of restrictions that they were putting on there. And I think it's just because some of the other kids ruined that for everybody else by looking up things they probably shouldn't have. But the cool part about today is there's a lot of computers you can get that are even new that are, I shouldn't say only, but they're $300 or $400 and allow you to draw with some pretty basic but free programs that at least give you some learning, to keep practicing in. So that's always good. So uh, I am actually on a very old MacBook. I just think as far as media is concerned, Macs to me have always been better and able to handle it. But the problem is when they get old like this, it can't handle the extra stuff like me trying to stream and color this at the same time. Excuse me. Um, so yeah, it's just kind of unfortunate that I can't live stream more just because my computer can't handle it. But like I said, one day we'll be able to fix that. Hopefully someday soon. But for now, you know how it is. You got to work with what you got. Right. Now, the reason I am coloring around this is Executive Enterprises, which is the name of the villain's company, um, is I'm going to make it a glowing sign that's on top of this building. So just like with the windows, I don't want to fill that in with any color so that I can hit it up with a glow color effect later. But again, for now, just trying to get the base colors put in at a minimum. So it's when you get into the little details, that's when things start to slow down. Because like you see, I had this big, huge space, and I could just freely just kind of scribble color everywhere and get it in there. And we're just trying to fill all that in as carefully as we can so we don't have to clean it up too much. And this is another reason I like kind of showing this stuff live of how long it takes to do them. Because like I used to make videos and they would be almost 2 to 3 hours just for the hand drawn on paper stuff. And it's just because I want to show that good art takes time, and everybody's always seems to be looking for a shortcut instead of just taking their time with it. And I would rather take my time with something and have the end result of my product look good, and then that way it's all worth it in the end instead of taking a shortcut. Because there were some comics in the beginning where I took kind of more of a Saturday morning cartoon approach and just did like they do with animes and just did the cell shading uh, and that still looks fine. It just kind of. All right, well, I have to go now. I will definitely be more streams. Also, your art is awesome. Never give up and don't stop improving. I really appreciate that, Am Cool, and I really appreciate you stopping by. I really do. And if you ever get bored and want to learn some extra stuff, go back on the channel. I got tons of tutorial videos on there too. But again, I appreciate you stopping by and appreciate your kind words. And have a good day. Uh, but yeah, the anime, it still works like, when you're watching the show, and it allows you to kind of speed up the process. But when you want to go for more detail and things with lighting and stuff like that, the cell shading doesn't really work. So it's kind of like you have to go for more of a blending mode on these things in order to get it to work the way you want. Rose Ninja, what is your favorite fruit? I would say my favorite fruit, if I had to think of all the ones I ate, it's probably a tie between peaches and plums. I like things that are either sweet or sour, but those two seem to be the ones I like eating the most. Um, but I do like fruit juices, more variety. Hi, I'm cool. You have a good day, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, so I would say peaches and plums probably. Yeah, those are the only two fruits I can think of that come to mind. Fun fact about me, I'm allergic to watermelon, and it makes me sad that I'm allergic to watermelon because I love it. Yeah, that would kind of stink a little bit if you had to give up something that tastes good. And yeah, I actually do like watermelon a lot when we do have it, but I think it's the flavor of watermelon. Because I think a lot of the candies, like some of the Starburst candies and stuff, watermelon's probably one of my favorites. So, but I'm sorry that you're allergic to that. I would hate to be allergic to something that I love and not be able to eat any of it. All right, so we're just gonna finish filling in these base colors on here. And also, I understand too that I do not have what you would call a radio voice. um, and it's probably not the greatest thing in the world to listen to, but I try my best to be entertaining. But at the same time, while I'm drawing, I like to discuss more just the process of what's going on. So if I don't really sound super entertaining, I apologize. It's just unfortunately just how my voice comes out. So, all right. And the reason why I wanted to put these two uh, pointy things at the top, because again, this is the villain's headquarters on here. So I wanted to kind of, sharp angular points kind of give a sense of evil when you draw them. So it kind of also helps separate it from, if I pull up the rest of the buildings, it makes it stand out more too. So that's why I kind of went that route. So the next thing I want to do is we're going to fill in, you can see these lines here. Every other space in between is the window itself, and the rest is a piece of the building separating the floor. So we're just going to quickly fill those in. And if my computer can keep up, we'll keep doing that. Let's see. So yeah, we're going to just kind of stick with this color. But again, when we get to adding the actual shadows and things like that for it being nighttime, you'll see the color kind of get painted over a little bit. Again, these are just more like what you would call like color flats, just to kind of give you something to have a baseline for what you're getting into. And then it makes it easier if I wanted to change the color. Like right now, let's say I wanted to make this whole building, I don't know, like a darker gray. I can click on this paint bucket, and now when I press it, it fills the whole building in. So it saves me time. So any color changes that I want to make are not that big a deal. And sometimes it can surprise you. So now that I'm looking at that, I kind of actually like that because the sign itself is going to be kind of a red glow, so we're going to stick with that color. So sometimes you get like a good old Bob Ross used to say, some happy accents going. And it can work out for the best. But like I said, it just makes it easier to test things out. So if like something's just off to you and you're just kind of like, what do I do to fix this? Um, you can just kind of click on a new color and just paint bucket fill it in there and see if that one looks better. Now, a lot of artists like to flip the screen back and forth to give them a new perspective. I really don't do that too much just because the way my brain functions. I think I see it just fine. Oh no, it's doing the thing again. It's drawing without me. Yeah, sorry, my computer's trying to keep up with me. Yeah, is that for real with the watermelon thing being allergic to it? Come on, computer, don't poo out on me. You're allergic to a few things. Yeah, I'm allergic to more. I guess you'd say like typical things. Like there's certain grass that I'm allergic to, as well as even though I have dogs, I am allergic to dog hair as well as cat hair. But I like dogs too much to care, so I just suffer through. It's not like a deathly allergy thing. Just sometimes I can get watery eyes and some itchiness, but I love dogs too much to be bothered by that. 1 second. I'm gonna turn a fan on in here. It's getting hot in my computer room. Okay. So if my computer can keep up with me, we can move a little faster. But again, that's usually why I just make video tutorials as opposed to live streaming. So what I'll probably end up doing is we'll stream this for a little bit, but I do have to kind of get it done today. But we'll stream for a little bit, a couple hours or so, and then I'll probably do the rest of it as a video to kind of give people the full tutorial on how to do the rest of it. Alright, so we're just going to finish coloring in the rest of it. Like I said, as you can see, it takes time. And again, I could use a magic wand tool to kind of pick the areas I don't want to get colored in, but at the same time, it just doesn't work for me. Even with the anti-aliasing off, it still tends to select things I don't want it to get colored, or it leaves the absence of, and I have to go back and fill it in anyway. So again, takes the same amount of time. There we go. Up a few spots that we miss. And let's clean up around the edge of the windows. And it's kind of funny when you know, anytime you zoom in on your own work, you can start seeing like little tiny imperfections that you did. And it's one of those things like you're always curious of like when somebody actually sees it on the page, do they even notice like the tiny extra line that wasn't supposed to be there? Alright, so we're going to clean up around these letters because again, this is going to be a glowing logo. Like I said, I will figure out one of these days how to get the streaming to play catch up with what I'm doing. So I'm not real sure why it slows down working on both, but we shall figure it out. Is Rose Ninja, is that a yup in reference to are you also allergic to grass and some animals too? Yeah. It's like I said, I can't tell how far behind my stream is because like I said, my computer is pretty old, so I don't know if y'all are asking these questions like 5 minutes after I've said something or what's going on. Like I said, I might what I'll do is like we'll go for another hour and then like take a break and see if I can find a way to get it to not uh, be so slow. There might be something I have to change in OBS to get it to keep up with what's going on. Alright, so now we just gotta go down and do the rest of these window separators on this building. Yeah, so you can see like this is why it's important to zoom in. Like when you're zoomed out, like something like that. Like if I zoom out right now, it looks like it's colored in, but when you zoom in, you start seeing areas that are being missed. So don't ever assume because you make your brush really huge that you're picking up everything on the edges. It's just something that happens. So you always want to go in and make sure you're checking your work because what you don't want to have happen is when they go to print this and somebody buys the comic and they flip through it and they're like, well, why are all these white splotches in here? You don't want the print to come out wrong, so and be very careful and make sure you're checking your work. Right, so put this in here and continue. And like I said, as I go down, I'm starting to see more areas that need to get fixed up. But we'll get a lot of those on the side when I get to the clean up the windows part. Oh no, doing that again. Alright, now to undo something, if you're new to Photoshop, and it's pretty much the same in a lot of programs, you just hit Control Z or Command Z, depending on whether you have PC or not. or you can pull down your menu and just hit undo. But it's the easiest. Like we used to always, when I was in college for animation, we just called it Z-Back back then. I don't know if it's still called that. But yeah, just Control Z or Command Z will usually get rid of that for you. And that takes care of that. All right, so let's go around and clean up some of these windows. So again, you see all these little like splotchy white areas. We don't want those, so we got to fill those in. And that's what I was talking about. Like even if you turn in the anti-aliasing, that kind of stuff still just shows up for some reason. Like I said, we'll figure out the streaming quality thing. See if I can maybe turn it down some. Because this is a high DPI resolution. I just think my computer's just having a hard time trying to keep up with that and OBS at the same time. You have a story to tell. Well, as long as it's an appropriate story, you can go ahead and tell it, Rose. I'll listen. All right. Uh, yeah, you're definitely gonna have to fix something because it keeps wanting to color in stuff when I'm not even pressing on the screen. I'll figure this out eventually. Like I said, it's been a minute. It's probably been 6 months since I've been on my channel, um, just because I've been so busy with both, trying to work on all these comics. So I'm just playing cleanup right now. Um, Again, it seems tedious, but again, I think good art takes time, and that's what you want. You want a good end product. So now, obviously, I will be repeating this process for every building that is in here. So if you have things you want to talk about or ask questions, you can. Other than that, uh, I really would just be repeating myself over and over again as to what it is that I'm doing. Uh, but yeah, I mean, I've been drawing since I was very young. Again, back when I was young, I would consider I was probably average. Like most kids you see in high school, they would be, or even middle school and stuff like that. Where they could draw good, but it wasn't great. And then I just kept like studying comics, different artists and stuff like that, trying to evaluate how it was that they were, with hatching and stuff like that. I had to actually like study the comic itself. That's why I think, you know, especially a lot of kids nowadays, a lot of this stuff you can just learn on YouTube now. Um, and it's just like right there for you to learn. And I think that's cool. Uh, you don't have to like drive way out your way or spend money. So, context for my story: I am allergic to a dye called Red 40. Is that that's that thing that they like put in just about almost everything now. So that's got to be rough too. Okay, so now that we have the context for your story, where's the story going? But yeah, yeah, like I was saying though, just there's a lot of stuff at young artists' fingertips now that you can pretty much learn for free on these sites, and I think that's great. And I just wanted to be a part of the teaching of helping people learn different methods. Like these are just my methods of how I do things. There's probably somebody out there with even better methods or uh, a different style of how they handle or do something. So if you stopped by, I appreciate it. Just trying to see what it is that I'm doing. And like I said, what I'm doing right now is obviously the tedious stage. But once we get all that filled in, it'll go by a lot smoother. Right? So the other thing too with comics that can be a little bit of a learning process is trying to do panels. So when I get to one that has like multiple panels and stuff, maybe we'll do another stream then, so I can kind of explain how to set that up and make it look interesting. Um, but again, the best way to learn from that is learn from the greats. Pick up a comic book and go in there and see how they do things. Because like a lot of things, I tend to be is more detail oriented, um, which is a curse. There's a lot of times where there's stuff going on in a panel, and I don't really need to put that much detail in the background or any background at all. Like, pick up a comic book and go through the 18 to 24 pages and look and see how many of those comics actually have backgrounds drawn into them. And you'll be surprised to see how much there isn't. Um, and I think that's just because they feel the way that I do. It takes so much time to put that stuff in there, and if the focus is just on the character, you really don't have to draw anything in the background. But sometimes it's just tempting to just sit there and go, oh, but I want to put a window here. So one time I asked my dad if I could get a snack, and my dad, yes. So I went and grabbed a snack, and the snack was like those cookies that have the white and pink cream on it. Okay. So we've set up the story, we got some cookies, and I'm sure it takes time to type that in because I know it only lets you type in like 150 characters or something like that. But yeah, there's a lot of times if you look at the comics, it just there's nothing. Sometimes it's like real lazy. It's not even like color. It's just like white in the background. Like they put like a little cast shadow on the wall or something, and there's nothing even there. So I guess it just depends on what's going on. I usually tend to say there's like 7 panels on a page. Uh, 3, sometimes 4 out of those panels, I would be drawing something in the background, just so it's not just me being lazy and just putting whatever I want to, just make it go by faster. But I mean, I have seen in comics where there's a full page spread with 8 panels and there's no background whatsoever. All right, so we got to go through now and put all this the same. So like I said, this is where the buildings and the city stuff just gets tedious. Um, so many windows. There's a lot of times where I'm doing cities and a lot of the buildings off in the distance, It's like so tempting to not put any windows and just make it a flat surface. And it just gets to me that there's not a single light coming from that building. So I have to go in there and add a light of some kind just so it stands out. So in some ways, I'm punishing myself. And then I asked my dad if we could check if it had red 40. And then we checked if it had red 40 or not. And then we saw something called red 3. And then we laughed so hard. It's called red 3. Now is that because they're disguising it now as red 3 and they calling it something else, or is it truly something different from red 40? I mean, that's good though. That I mean, does that mean you were able to eat it though, or did you still have to kind of avoid it? All right, now once I get done doing this row, I'm gonna back out again and just kind of see how things look. That's the one thing I do. I may not flip my canvas a lot, but I do make sure that I back out and see the full image again. Because being up this close, obviously there's not going to be a comic book in existence that has a page this big. You can see up this close. So sometimes when you pull out, it gives you the opportunity to see how much detail you really have to add as far as colors or shadows go. That way it saves you a lot of time. Um, because if you can just like take a whole back area and just cast a shadow on it, it makes it a whole lot simpler and take a lot less time to do. Alright, so we're almost worked up to where we have the whole front of the building, but as you'll see in a minute when I back out, there are more parts to the building. But I'm just going to continue to fill this in until we are done. And again, I'm not a professional streamer or anything, so I know there's like ways you can have like the chat pop up on the screen and things like that, but it doesn't really work that way for me on my old computer. So working with what I got the best I can. So I do apologize for the lagginess and things like that. But again, I just thought it'd be fun to show the full process of how this works. And like I said, we may have to take a break in 30 minutes or so I can try to figure out if I can fix the lagging. And if I can't, what I'll do is I will just do a screen capture recording and just make a tutorial video for the rest of it. Um, so if people wanted to go back and see the first parts of it, they can just go back and watch the live stream part, and then we can do a separate video for the rest of it. But the lagginess is really slowing down the process, and that's not good because I need to get the page done today. Let's see. All right, now that that's filled in, so I'm gonna clean up right there. All right, let's zoom out. Let's see what we're working with. Right, so that stands out good. Now, if you notice, we have this part right here. This is actually part of the main structure. So this will also get that dark gray color. So we are going to start to fill that in. If my computer can keep up. All right, now you can see I have these like little slits going in the window here. I'm going to probably make those more of a black color. It's something different because when I ate them, they didn't make me throw up. Well, that's good then, that you were at least able to eat them. Were they at least good then, after you finally got to try them? But yeah, I'm going to probably make it closer to a black color for that. Yeah, we're definitely going to have to see if we can fix this lagginess. So I'll go to about 12 my time, which is about 45 minutes. And then we'll see if we can figure out what the deal is, why it's lagging so much. And maybe that'll be better for us. That way we can finish the page. Because usually when I eat something I'm allergic to, it makes me nauseous, my stomach hurt, and makes me throw. Yeah. Yeah, that definitely can happen. And like I said, I'm sorry that there's things that you're allergic to and not able to eat. It's like I said, especially if it's something, smells good, looks like it would taste good. It really stink to not be able to consume those things uh, and having to worry about throwing it up later, getting nauseous. But I mean, at least there are some things you can eat, right? That are good. So we're gonna finish filling in this building. If my computer doesn't kill me here in a minute. All right, now one thing you want to make sure that you do, that you save as often as you can, because you never know when your computer's going to crash or anything. So I'm just going to hit Control S. And, or sorry, for the Mac it's Command S, but it'll save my project that way in case this crashes and Photoshop quits on me. Then I have a way to come back to it. Now the saving might take some time because I'm streaming, but better to have than have to do all over again. So always remember, save, save often. I usually try to do it every 10 to 15 minutes, but sometimes when I'm live streaming, I kind of tend to forget. So, and then as you can see, it takes a while for it to save. So that's also another reason why I don't save too often. All right, there we go, and it's done. So now I can get back to it. But yeah, like I said, I probably won't like stream a lot, just because I really have to get this stuff done. Um, but I just figured I'd pop back in and just kind of let people know why I haven't made videos in a while. I haven't done it. It's been really hectic trying to make sure that I get all this done and being super busy. And I of course can't show too much anyway, just because It's not my right to do so. I'm just the artist. I don't own the right to the story or the comic, so I'm sure showing some buildings aren't going to be that big of a deal, but I would probably have to ask permission to stream other things, especially if it shows an important scene of some kind. He probably They probably wouldn't want spoilers out there for everybody to see. So I just figured this city scene is pretty basic, pretty generic, so it shouldn't cause any issues as far as that goes. Oh, well, God bless you too, Rose, and I appreciate you stopping by and chatting. I hope you have a good day. So we're gonna finish coloring. Trying my best not to hit up these windows so I don't have to clean them up. Looks like some of them are sneaking through and getting some of that dark gray in there. Like I said, anybody who's looking at this right now and you see these windows, even with copying and pasting them, it takes forever. And then the hard part too is when, like, if you can tell, like my buildings, like the angle I'm drawing it at, it's more of an upward angle, so it's not as easy to just drag and drop because it can throw uh, the angle of it off. Because things change as you start to get down towards the bottom. That's why a lot of people you'll see they'll draw uh, basic angles, like a front view of buildings and stuff, because it makes it a lot easier to just copy the windows and create a new layer and just keep copying them, dragging them down. But I find it adds a lot more uh, dynamic to it, having a different perspective. Because with the buildings kind of angling up like that, it's more like a imposing look of the building stretching up and having those angular points again, kind of denoting that this is a probably a nefarious place. So little things like that have to kind of get taken into consideration on what you're doing. And like I said, avoiding all these windows makes it more tedious too. Right, so we're just going to stay down here at the bottom and just work our way up towards the top. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's really just the process of it. Like I said, it's kind of hard to sit here and talk the whole time when I'm working on the same first step that I've been doing the past hour or so. So definitely have a lot more to talk about when we get to the shading and lighting portion, because there's a lot of things to take into account and try to figure out. Okay, so almost there. once we get there, we can move on to, I believe there's the last two buildings on the left side. Then we just have the back. So again, all these open windows like that, they're going to be lighted windows, and I can show you again what non-lighted windows typically look like. For me, it's like, just imagine if I filled those in black. Now sometimes if we're closer to the buildings, or I feel like it's important to kind of show that extra detail, I'll actually take the time to put curtains and things in the window. Um, just to kind of give it a little bit more authenticity. But again, that can all take quite a bit of time. So I said I was going to change these to a darker black, so that's what I'm doing. But I don't want to make it pure black. That way when I start throwing like lights and things on there, at least it'll show up. It just won't be a black line. Okay, so that takes care of all of that. We're obviously going to do some cool tricks later, um, for these just pure glass buildings. But for now, I'm going to come in here and finish off these other buildings in the back. So again, it's just rinse and repeat. And like I said, if I am no like purist to my own methods. Anybody ever watches this and wants to leave a comment saying, "Hey, when it comes to doing buildings and avoiding the windows, I do A, B, and C," please, I'll take the advice and give it a try. I am not above taking advice. Usually, I'll just explain why I do something. But yeah, I mean, if there's an easier method to save me time at work, I'm never above taking that advice ever. Because trust me, saving time helps you be able to move on. Because like I said, when I'm done with this series of comics, I'm gonna go back to work on my own graphic novel, and then once I'm done with that, I'm not sure what I'm gonna try to get into, because that's gonna kind of be like my magnum opus of this is what I've been working towards. And then once I'm done with my graphic novel, I may still put a few videos here and there on the channel just for tutorial purposes. But for the most part, I mean, I'm getting a little older, so it's getting a little bit more time consuming working on these projects. Like, for instance, this comic here is just the first issue, but I'm doing about, it's probably gonna be about 32 pages before it's done. So it's just under, like, if we'd have done 8 more pages, I mean, it literally would have been considered a graphic novel by itself, by the industry standard. So again, that's why I want to talk with the writer and see if he maybe wants to just turn it into one big book. Something that's 200 or 300 pages. Just kind of be a long graphic novel. But yeah, we may end up having to just make the rest of tutorial video. Okay, so almost done. And you can see it kind of overbleeds over here. You can see some of the windows, but obviously when those get colored in, there's no need for me to color in the rest of that stuff, so that saves time too. The overreach of it was just so that I could mask it off and make it easier. A lot of times, like, a lot of buildings tend to just be gray or like a light concrete color. And to me personally, that can be a little boring. So that's why I usually tend to try to alternate between 3 or 4 colors for buildings, just so it's not as uh, boring. But yes, I could have just as easily gone in and made it one color, just like where all the buildings were like a white concrete color. Um, but again, I like to, when I look at pages for things, I like to see some variety, unless, like the coloring and lighting is just so good that you don't even think about it. And I just don't want to take that risk with what I'm coloring on here. So that's why I'm taking my time to make sure that I get what I want. Okay, so from here, I'm going to go for a lighter color on the ridge here. Again, we're talking about variety, so we're just trying to break up what we're seeing with our eyes. And my computer is trying to color for me. That's never good. Let's fix those couple spots. That's always the hard part too, is like not knowing how big it's gonna be in the comic book reader's hand. Uh, so, for instance, if I, back out to like here, like the actual comic itself, when you're holding it and reading it, is probably going to be about this close, if not a little closer. So that can kind of, like, if you can visualize it in your head, it can kind of help you, uh, determine just how much detail you need to put on something. Uh, but yeah, that's, this streaming is killing my zoom in and out. But yeah, it just kind of give you a better understanding of, what it is that you're trying to do. So like back here on this building here, like see how it's way off in the distance. Like even if I zoom in, it doesn't need to be something crazy, because our main focus is the executive enterprises. It's in the middle ground here. All right, so we just have this one last building, and that'll take us to the last layer of colors, and then all our base coloring will be done. And I think that'll probably be a good stopping point for me to try to either fix the stream or either fix the stream or try to make a tutorial video for the rest of it. And whichever I decide, I'll try to get that out as soon as possible. Like I said, if we can at least get the base colors in here, we should be good. To move forward, I'm getting the little thinking spinning wheel here every time I do something. So that's how I can tell my computer is struggling to survive on here. And again, hence why I don't live stream as often as I should, just because the computer can't really handle it. And one day it will, because I'll have a new one. But for now, this is it. So I'm just cleaning up some of these windows that I'm accidentally coloring inside. All right. Now we'll back out and take a look at what we got. So that took care of our foreground, middle ground, and now we just have our background buildings. So as you can see, I'm going down to the color layer for those, and we're going to do that brick color. I'll make it a little bit darker, so I just kind of went down some. As long as my computer doesn't die on me right now. We shall zoom in and start coloring that in as well. All right. So we're going with that kind of a dark brown brick color because, like I said, these background buildings, like the furthest back, they're based off of actual buildings in the Houston downtown area. So I'm trying to keep that authentic. Now, even though when I start coloring like a lot of the shadows and stuff in here, um, it's going to slightly alter when those things are in there, but at least that color will kind of be hidden underneath it. So again, that recognition is there um, for the reader, especially like if somebody from Houston was to buy the comic, they would know. Say, hey, I know that building. I know where that's at. That's so cool. Kind of like again, why I tend to like Marvel comics better. Just kind of allows for relatability of just, hey, that's where I live, kind of thing. So this comic is obviously taking place in Houston. So anybody from Houston, you'll have things to recognize because we're trying to keep it kind of authentically feel like that. So we're using a lot of areas and stuff that are known of in Houston. So like I said, if anybody's watching this right now, feel free to ask any questions. It doesn't necessarily have to be about art or what I'm working on, but if you want any tips or tricks, or if you have tips or tricks for me, you can go ahead and give them. Uh, Other than that, we're just getting all the base colors in here. Then we can start doing the lighting. I'm probably only gonna, like I said, stream for another 20 minutes or so, just because my computer is not handling this. It's lagging on the live stream, so I'm trying my best to move at a decent pace while doing it. But I may have to end up turning the rest of this into just a tutorial video. Let's check that out. So that looks good. Right, I'm gonna keep moving on. And you can see how I'm like coloring this in and it's not affecting what it's showing through. So like when I color these windows, those will cover up this area here. So again, that's why I have separate layers so I don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. It gives me more control over the environment. And in case there's any mistakes, I don't have to completely redraw, 18 buildings. I only have to fix or adjust a couple buildings. So it's good to help you control it that way. Alright, so trying to very carefully get around these windows so I don't have to clean them up with any brown. Again, if you're just joining us, these open windows will be the ones that have a light source coming from them. Okay. So, like I said, this is the tedious part, is getting the flats in. Again, with cities, it usually tends to take me longer with buildings, just because there's a lot of things I got to try to avoid and be careful. So again, that I don't make too many mistakes, um, and have to spend extra time cleaning them up later. So just adding these flats is going to take some time, but the rest of it will move a lot faster once I get those colors in there. Like I said, it's usually a good idea. So like when I get like it's about halfway down the building, so it's always a good idea to pull back out and see how your work's looking, just to keep it fresh in your head as to where it is you're going with it and things to think about when you get to color details and stuff like that. So again, we have that color in there, and then we have to think about where the moon's positioned and how that's going to come into play, um, casting light in certain areas. So it's going to kind of split down the middle through here. So it's always good to back out, just check, see what you got. And like I said, doing this has also been a learning experience for me, because like I am a far better drawer than I am a colorist. I am decent at coloring, even though other people tell me it looks good. I am just very overcritical of myself when I start adding color to things, because you can draw a pretty picture all you want, but once you start coloring it, you can completely mess it up. If you remember your time back as a kid and think of all the things you tried to color with crayon that just got completely ruined because you decided to add color to it and you're just like, oh, that picture looked better when it wasn't colored. That's how I feel about when I color artists, the comics. So, like I said, I drew everything myself, but I'm not working with a team of people other than a writer. So I'm kind of having to do everything. Um, so putting a lot of trust in me to make sure things get colored right. And everything's been so far so good. I haven't had any complaints from the publisher or the writer, so they feel like it's going in the right direction. But you know how it is as an artist, you're just overly critical. You never think your work is good enough. And that's okay, because that causes you to then want to research more and make yourself better. Alright, so we got a couple more sections of building to avoid some windows on. Now that other building that's way on the back on the left side, on the far left, that one is mostly glass, so it actually will not be getting uh, much color, if any at all, because we're going to be trying some things to cast a reflection, but we will fill it in with a kind of like a standard, blue glass, like you would color glass or whatever. But it's going to be completely uh, different by the time we're done with it. And that's why it's a good idea to work in layers too, because again, if you mess up on something, you're not affecting the other part of your screen at all. All right, just gotta work around all these little windows. Sometimes we get a little too carried away with lights coming from windows and things like that. That's not as easy to draw and just copy and paste the windows down in a straight line because, like I said, the windows are all, the buildings themselves anyway, are all angled upwards as if you were like kind of looking up at them. So if I were to just copy and drag down, it kind of starts to slant to one side and then you have to readjust and blah, blah, blah. So unfortunately for some scenes, it's not that easy to just do that. And I think, again, that's why a lot of people draw the building straight on. But sometimes when you draw in perspective, it just can cause a different feeling when you look at something. It makes it more worthwhile to look at the page. Because you don't want people to just pass, like, the amount of hours I'm spending on this and they glance at it and just read the words on the page that say, Executive Enterprises later that evening. They don't even take the time to look at the extra work that you put to drawing the buildings. So I always try to do things to make it more dynamic, to bring interest into it. So now the nice part is once we filled this in, we can create a layer below it and do like a fast fill in of the light coming from the windows, since it's just going to be kind of like a yellow color. We can just color behind this base color and spread it around, and then that way it doesn't take as long to do. So that's what I'm saying. You got to kind of get through the tedious part first, which is coloring around everything. But once you do that, like I said, things start moving a lot smoother when you do it. And we are almost there. Like I said, that other building, I was looking at a lot of pictures of it at nighttime, and there's a lot of sparse lighting. Like, even though it's a glass building, I think all the windows might be tinted or have a dark glass on it because it like shows up black almost in all the pictures that I've seen of it. I'll show you which one I'm talking about here in a second. So let me finish this last line. But this one right here, like, it's all glass during the day, but like for some reason, every nighttime picture I've seen of it, that's all you can see is just the windows. If there's any light coming out of them, so that's always been interesting to me. I'm not really sure why it does that. All right, so let's get these last two buildings in there. Go for a little bit of light gray. Again, I'm going to try to avoid these open windows because they're going to be giving us a light. That's why running an art channel can be rough because I think we just kind of live in a society today where everybody wants quick, fast, and in a hurry. And if they really knew like how long this stuff takes, maybe they would take the time to learn a step-by-step process. I don't like making short videos just because I think it's kind of cheapening the effect of actually seeing what it is I'm doing and having somebody explain what kind of brush. So like right now I'm just using a regular hard round brush. It's nothing fancy. It's just regular. Uh, it's like see so how much that building is not showing because like if I remove this layer above it, you can see how I've got the building drawn behind it, but that was just so that I could mask it off. But it's actually being blocked, so that saves me time. I don't have to color the whole building in to achieve the effect that I want to do. Okay, so now we talked about the glass. Okay, so like for now, I'm just gonna, and everything that's glass, I'm just gonna give it this color, and it'll be completely changed by the time that I'm done with it. So by the time I'm done, it's gonna have, since we have like a night sky and there's a moon and stuff, a lot of that's gonna reflect off of this building. So it's gonna take very little time to do that, but I still need to put a base color in so that when I put the backdrop, like the sky, the stars, and things like that in there, it doesn't just kind of appear behind it and allows you to look. So that's what these basic flats are just for, is to just kind of have me uh, help me kind of have it based off so that I can see everything as a whole. And then when I add all the other stuff, it makes it that much easier. Just like this whole front side here will be reflecting the sky and the moon and the stars as well. And it'll create this cool effect of like being nighttime in a city. But if I don't put this in now, it'll be hard to set that up and cast that reflection off of there. Okay, so again, for now, I'm going to start working back forward because I need to get that done with this building as well too. So like these little gaps down here, this is all glass. Okay, so this will be the last building that I have to do this for. And then once that's done, then I can put the sky and moon in there. And then we can start doing the lights and the shadow work. Actually, we probably can put the lighted windows in first before we do the sky. And like I said, it's just back to the tediousness of just repeating the process. Um, if I had to say like how long, again, it just depends on the details. Usually the city stuff takes me the longest. Um, and then any fight scenes with the hero that has, a little bit more like dynamic poses and stuff to it. But on average, it takes about a page a day for me to do, and at 34 pages. So like this, I've been working on for probably a month now, and it's only page 21 of 34, so I still got quite a bit to go. And there's going to be a lot of challenging scenes towards the end because there's going to be a lot going on in the background and walking down the street. Um, so I mean, they've not really given me a deadline because I think they just want it to be good, which that's a positive. But like, trying to finish 34 pages in a month is just crazy, but it's not gonna work that way. So it's gonna kind of like be released when it can. Um, Again, I'm gonna be in talks to try to see if they want to do more like a graphic novel and just release it as just one big book, kind of like they did with The Dark Knight Returns or like 300 and stuff. It's just one big story, and I think that would be a smarter choice. Or they may just let me get like 3 or 4 issues ahead and then release it monthly, and then see. That'll give me time to finish out the last few because it's not going to be like your typical Marvel run. There's not going to be 12 issues. I think we're looking at 6, maybe, issues. And then if I get the first 3 done, they come out a month at a time. That should, again, depending on the length of the other ones. I think if they let me finish the first 4 and then release those, that'll give me enough time to be ahead. To where by the time the 4th one comes out, I should be started on or halfway done with the last one. So it'll make it a lot easier to keep up with the demand of the audience. Because a lot of people don't want to wait. Like if I finish this first issue and we released it, and then they have to wait a month and a half for the next one, they may lose interest or even forget that it exists. So it's a complicated planning process, that's for sure. But we will see how it goes. I could try something. So since a lot of this is colored in, let me see. Yeah, so see, that'll fill in the rest of that for me. So see, that just saved me a lot of time. That's like coloring every window in. Just sometimes that does not work out for you. All right. So that is where we are. Got all our buildings set up. And like, see, now I can't really see through the buildings and I get a better idea. And then, like I said, my moon will be there. We'll probably fade that out a little bit, like so it's not so prominent, maybe a little bit more faded. But we'll color that in and have us drop. I'm gonna have to take a break and then end the stream, just from the standpoint of I got to figure out how to make this not so glitchy and take time. So if I can't get it working, what I'll do is I will put out a video on how to finish the rest of it. But for everybody who stopped by, everybody who chatted, I greatly appreciate it. And if you have questions, leave them in the comments if you watch this on the replay or whatever. And if you enjoy watching these processes and how things work, think about subscribing to the channel. Go ahead and click that button. If not, again, I appreciate everyone who stopped by. Maybe it was only a couple of you. It's fine. I know art can be long and boring, but I try to do the best that I can. So other than that, I greatly appreciate it. And I hope y'all have a wonderful day. And hopefully I can hop back on here. If, like I said, if I don't figure it out, I'll have a video for you finishing out. All right. So y'all enjoy the rest of your day and have a good one.